We had pretty interesting calls this afternoon, so I think we could pull anything out of there, Gav. What do you think?
Definitely is a networking opportunity. We made a couple of pitches per se as well. It's networking with a bunch of people working at the front edge of AI
Yep.
and seeing that they're not just a bunch of deep geek coders. There
Right.
were a few of those, I think, in the room as well. But it's a very, very humanistic exploration of ideas, of
Hmm.
looking at spanning from this convergence of things that have been in a lot of the back of our minds in different ways, approaching things in a different way, but the essence has a lot of similarities. That stuck out to me in this conversation. And it's about how to make it relevant, tangible for the audience. It's about building a platform of functionality, experience, connectivity that benefits everyone, benefits a lot of people, participants, contributors, new ways to monetize, new ways to earn an income. So that was really interesting for me. So many different ideas, but there's a values based agenda at the core, which is again creating benevolent opportunity for the most amount of people around the world.
Yeah, it's definitely, maybe that's that community, right? But I think that I see that everywhere, right? I'm seeing that in the podcasts with the people that are at the forefront, co-founders of DeepMind and, even Sam Altman to some degree, right? Like there's this humanistic approach. There's this real optimism and but in it still this concern that yeah, like we really need to make sure this benefits people. So I think there's probably like two camps going on right now. There's definitely the people out there that are saying, how do I make $1 billion freaking dollars with this, right? Like ASAP, and they're just trying to leverage it to monetize it to do whatever. And that's fine. God bless them. But I think at this stage, though, most of the people that I'm coming across, either again in kind of in person today, so to speak, virtually, but you know, interpersonally working with and talking to people versus people that I'm following or interacting with on Twitter or watching their podcasts on YouTube or whatever, there is this real humanistic component, and I came away uplifted. I did, and it was a very cool experience, and I'm very grateful to meet some of those people in there. And I think we're gonna, have a lot of really interesting collaboration. And that was this other element that I really hope we're gonna see a lot more of, and that is collaboration versus competition. Guys, the era of competition's over. It's just not as necessary as it once was. AI is going to open up. It's already opening up trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of value, right? We're talking an entire order of magnitude leap up. People are saying add a zero to the global domestic product, right? Um, Add a zero. That's what it's going to do. Okay. So we're going to go to something 100 trillion dollars per year in value. And so with so much wealth creation happening, it doesn't make sense. And I think it also doesn't make sense because how are you going to create a moat in a technology that's moving this quickly? I mean, we already saw that in Web3, right? I mean, I noticed over the course of the years in Web3 that most people don't really worry about IP anymore because it's like, it can't be really protected. It's going to be too expensive. You're dealing with international audiences out of the gate, right? It's like, so, I'm doing this thing, and then, this guy over, I'm in the US, this guy over here in Nigeria copies it. What am I gonna do? Take him to the Hague? Like, it would cost me $1 million just to file a lawsuit. So it's not even really a possible thing. I think AI is just like blowing that out the window, saying like, "I pee my ass." Now, again, unless you're like a gigantic Google or Facebook or OpenAI, sure they can protect. But anyway, it's a new spirit. I felt like today what was interesting is we put everything we've talked about in this podcast to work. Like you said, the networking, we had a pitch, we were concise, we were quick, we were problem focused. You did a fantastic job on it. Um, and we were just getting to know people, developing partnerships, looking for opportunities, and branching out. Right? This hasn't been our direct background. We've both really caught the bug at this point. We know AI is the future. We're playing with the technology directly as developers, as business people, and so on as human beings. But it was cool today. I think we ate our own dog food today.
I like that. That's really nice. On the flip side, we've been talking about building relationships. This one guy, right, in the Telegram channel, a couple of days ago, he did a big announcement complaining about his experience talking with one of the principals in this community, and he wanted it to be visible to the whole community. And he's progressively over the past couple of days, he's tried to win the argument and point this person out and say it wasn't fair and something should be changed and whatever. This is not how to win friends and influence
Yeah.
people. And I think it comes back to what we've been talking about the past few weeks. It's the differentiation. You can have a good skill set or not, but your access to opportunity in the age of AI is going to be massively aided by your ability to build good relationships, meaningful, respectful, quality, humanized relationships. And this guy failed miserably.
Yeah. No, I know the incident, and it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know why people are gonna, go at somebody that way. And it's one of the things you learn, like, this happens a lot in personal relationships too, but there's no value in being right.
Hmm.
People love to be right. It's such an ego thing when you think about it. Okay, it's one thing if you are trolling people online. Okay, fine. Being right, kind of a sport. Go ahead, fight it out. Okay, have a good time if that's your thing. But in a close relationship, in a business relationship, in a community, even with people you're going to be around. I remember hearing this from Jordan Peterson a while back, but he's like, you want to be right. So you're telling me you want to beat your spouse in an argument so they can feel humiliated, and that's going to be fun for you for the next several days, weeks, months. It's like, why would you want that? You don't want to vanquish your spouse. You don't want to vanquish your friend or your business partner. That's not the point. It's humiliating, right? Right or wrong. You're not trying to be right. You're trying to, you're trying to reach a consensus. You're trying to reach an understanding, right? You're trying to find a compromise, maybe. These are the things you're looking for in relationships. You're not looking to win and be right. And especially to like out somebody in a very public way to try to like, I don't know.
One concrete example that I have used in workshops before in that regard is that some you take an orange and there's two sides and they say I need the orange for what I want to do, and then eventually you figure out that one of them just needs the orange peel and the
Yeah.
other one needs the orange fruit, right? Compromise can sometimes just be clarification of what each other actually
Yeah.
needs, and then you can both be fully satisfied if that happens to be the case. But often we don't get there because we don't clarify the requirements and we argue over the orange, not understanding that we both want something a little bit different.
Right. In which case you're right. There isn't even a need for a compromise. There's need for understanding, right? And asking for what you want so that people do know. That's important too. We don't like we still expect people to read our minds a lot. There's this sort of like passive aggressiveness to us where we don't just state our desires, right? Hey, I don't know what's going on with this person. An example you gave, but it's like you go in and you say, listen, I'm really struggling here. The situation the other day, I don't know what's going on, but like I'm unable to do what I want to do. And here's why. Is there any way you can help me? such a better situation that to go into rather than, trying to make somebody, what you got like, and I told you so, or make them feel bad, like I said, or try to win an argument. It doesn't make sense. But I'll bring it to, this is a really important one. We haven't talked much about this yet, but I'm gonna go with it. And clarity. There's a great book called Clarity First. Have you heard of this book? It's kind of
No.
one of the newer startup
Mm.
books. Let me find the author's name for the audience. It's not a very long book. Uh, it's this really killer um businesswoman. I forget her name. Anyway, let me, while I'm doing this, the book is exactly what you think. It's, if you don't know exactly what you're trying to do as a company and as a person, I would say, you're lost. You're lost. And that sounds stupid. Like, oh no, I know what I'm doing. I'm starting a new AI company. That doesn't fucking mean anything, right? What are you actually specifically doing? Are you fully clear on the problem you're solving? Are you fully clear on the solution? Are you clear on the plan? Do you have clarity? And more importantly, unless you're working by yourself, does everybody else have the same clarity? Because we've seen that as like a big weakness in DAOs, right? There's not often enough communication to remember, guys, there's internal customers too, right? There's internal stakeholders. They're important. If you haven't sold your team on what's going on, how the fuck do you expect to sell anybody else, right? Like, if your team doesn't know what's going on, how do you expect them to deliver excellent service or an excellent product to customer, right? We need clarity, and it's a boring thing maybe, but and an obvious thing, but it's not as obvious as you think. And if you step back, you probably don't even you probably aren't fully clear about what you're trying to do.
I like it.
Karen
I'm
Martin,
There
that's
you go. I'm going to check that out. Karen Martin. All right. Sounds
Clarity
good.
First. Great little book, worth a read.
Yeah, I think when we say DAO, these are decentralized organizations, and I think it applies to more broad concepts as just governance, decentralized governance, and it's almost entertaining if it wasn't so important, right? It's when you're working with a small group in an organization, the relationships, the clarity, the focus, the prioritizations, it's important. And then when you're talking about a national scale in geopolitics or whatever, it's all very, very, very important. We might joke that politics is just what those folks do to, get elected and nothing changes, but in fact things do change and not necessarily for the good. And
Mhm.
that's the point. That's why this stuff is important. Um, so I'm looking at this, I'm working towards a kind of a formula for governance
Mm,
that is multifactorial.
mm,
And none of these communities, you talk about DAOs, decentralized governance, approaches like holacracy, which a lot of companies adopted, and then most of them rejected it because it didn't work out for them or they didn't use it properly. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on, but so yeah, I'm pretty enthusiastic about collecting the various multifactorial criteria that goes into governance, and then seeing what kind of a formula can come out of that. So I can share more ideas on that, but I'll definitely do so over the course of our conversations.
no, you're absolutely right. It is a multifactorial situation, and it's not going to be a one size fits all approach. There might be kind of templates, if you will, that are reusable to give you a nice base. But that's one of the elements of AI I see that's going to become more and more is custom, right? AI is going to allow us to really customize and get extremely granular, right? Like Siri is a chatbot. I mean, she is for all practical purposes, and Amazon's Eggbird or whatever it's called. So I don't know what it's called. I don't use them. Alexa, I think. Um, whatever, but they're very basic, right? They're not really customized to you. Yeah, they learn some things about you, but it's kind of bullshit, like consumerist crap. Oh, they know what you like to buy, but they're not getting to know you. There's not a persona there that evolves, right? Everybody gets the same Siri. But in AI, it's not going to be that at all, right? Your personal AI assistant is going to be, for all intents and purposes, have the personality of a human being. Pretty close to it sooner than you think, right? It's going to be a completely custom solution for you that's going to grow and evolve with you over time. And as a result, think about it, in the marketplace, consumers are going to expect this more and more across the board, right? Because they're also going to get it in like their medical care, where they've got customized, prescriptions that are based on, their genetics and, the AI running through their entire medical history in a matter of seconds and going, hey, you need 11.4 grams of Paxil and 2.3 of this cholesterol med, and that's going to sit perfectly with you. And you need to eat broccoli every night at 6 or whatever, right? This stuff's going to be there. And so if you're not, you don't have a clear understanding of what you're trying to do and who you're trying to work with, and you aren't going to be able to create a sort of more custom experience for people in anything you do, I think you're going to be falling behind.
Yeah, manufacturing has been talking about that for a little while in terms of like 3D printing, and everyone can order their own specific thing, customize the products. I haven't seen a lot of that for myself. Maybe I'm not in that financial bracket where I can just cut, like, right. I buy myself a dining table. It's like the standard dining table from the store. I haven't got in fact, funny speaking of that, I've seen photos of unique crystalline kitchen, what are they, islands. They look phenomenal. So I'm going to save up my pesetas and buy myself a custom crystalline kitchen island when I'm building a house here on the property. But yeah, customization of products, of services, and then of our AI assistants. And then the world is going to be customized because those AI assistants
Yep.
will block out
Yep.
all of the stuff that I don't want to have to deal with on social
Yep.
media. I
Everywhere.
just made it. I just made a presentation today that if you look at Facebook, the left column is irrelevant, the central column is irrelevant, and the right column is irrelevant. And I can't customize it. So how much time do I spend on Facebook?
Right.
Almost none. There's a few groups that I have to go to. I got a few contacts on there, but I'm basically not using Facebook for probably for the past 10 years since they banned indie developers from being able to add their own experiences.
Right.
So I think that's spot on. Everything is going to be customized to the experience that you want to have.
Yeah, it's going to be highly curated, right? Everything. I mean, heck, when we get all the way to like augmented reality, as you're, walking down the street with your, smart glasses, like, I mean, really, yeah, everybody's going to be living in a custom universe for all practical purposes. And wow, yeah, that's a pretty crazy kind of realization as I think about it. But huh, that's neat. It's gonna, in a way, it's gonna open up a lot of things, and in another way, it's gonna be a pain in the ass. And I guess you could say anything about that, but maybe making some comments. The tough part about this is consumers are going to have extremely high expectations, right? They're not only going to want quality, they're going to want quality that fits them perfectly, and they're going to want convenience, and they're going to want price, right? You're almost going to have to compete on all the levels as we go forward, right? You know,
And they want it delivered by 4 p.m.
yep. Easy, quick, custom, cheap, high quality. The sort of holy grail of product. Woof. We're gonna be saying different things as consultants in 5 years, Gab.
Well, we've already broached the politics subject, the no go zone of politics. So maybe let's get into ethics at a future
Mm,
conversation, because You
Gotta be
can have
smart.
things you can have things quickly, cheap, and high quality, but to what expense at the commons or communal resources or other people that are having to these these folks are digging lithium from mines by hand to service the electric car batteries.
Right.
Or the folks in China who are the sweatshops are still building our smartphones and they're miserable as hell. Let's try and tackle a bit of the ethics conversation of how all these things are going to manifest as well.
Yeah, I like it because that is important. I think that's going to be an extremely important factor going forward. Well, I think we had a pretty good day today. Let's say we wrap this up. You got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm nursing a thunderstorm, as you might be able to hear, but I think you can see the drips coming down the face.
Yeah,
And it's been a long day, been a good day, conversations, and we'll keep having these ones as well. Thank you, Dom.
absolutely. Yep. Thank you to Gav. And please remember, we love to hear from you. Find us on Twitter, YouTube. I know all the links and stuff are, in the channel, but, tell us what you want us to talk about. If you want to come on the show, send us a note. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have guests. So hopefully that'll happen and we'll see everybody soon.